Hello and welcome back to another edition of Fat City Vinyl. Once again looking at some of my best ever thrift record scores over the years. Today I'm going to be looking at the Reggae. Now this should be a fairly short video. There's not too much Reggae to be found in thrift stores in my area, but I did have two separate small but very good scores. Now in my previous video I talked a bit about starting to dig in thrift stores, and fairly early in my career, and I still remember this day vividly, I walked in and found a few reggae records for the first time. Now, I vividly remember this day. They used to have their records when you walked in the front door. They would kind of be off to the right in the corner there. I think they were priced at $1.49 each. Later they went up to $1.99 and moved the records over more into kind of the center of the store, where they've remained ever since. I still hit that store when I can. A lot of the thrift finds you see in my video are from there. So this day I walked in and I'm flipping through and I noticed there's a bunch of late 60s, early 70s era soundtrack LPs. I remember Midnight Cowboy being there. What else? The Graduate, things like that from that area. And then all of a sudden I came up on this, Version Galore by U-Roy, misspelled as I-Roy on the cover. This is a pressing on the Treasure Isle label out of Jamaica. Not entirely sure exactly what pressing this is, but this is a landmark album. It's his debut LP. He is one of the first generation of Jamaican DJs or rappers, and there had been other ones recording singles before him. He was the first one to kind of take that from the live setting and put it into across a full-length LP, where he is chatting his lyrics over top of a lot of the Rocksteady Treasure Isle hits of the day. So you've got him going over the Paragons' Tide is High, later covered by Blondie, On the Beach, also by John Holt and the Paragons, Happy Go Lucky Girl, Wear You to the Ball, lots of classic tunes that he revived still not too much later, a couple of years later, and put a new spin on them. The public went mad for them in Jamaica. At one time, U-Roy had the top 3 songs in the Jamaican charts at the same time. U-Roy, Version Galore. This was later reissued on Virgin Records in the UK. Just for comparison's sake, it looks like this. And came on the Virgin Frontline label. Sound quality much better on this one actually than my copy. Not exactly sure 100% what pressing mine is, but I would definitely say it's old. I like to think, being that there was those soundtrack LPs there at the same time from kind of late 60s, early 70s, which is when that U-Roy album is from, that maybe somebody had made a trip to Jamaica and picked up the odd record, and that kind of got mixed in with their collection, which then got dropped off at the thrift store. Just kind of the narratives you come up with in your mind when you find these kind of record hauls and figuring out how they got there and who owned them before. Another one that was there at the same time was from the same era, roughly. It's a various artists compilation called Rocksteady Intensified, Jamaica's new dance craze, giving you a taste of how old this record is. 1968-ish, I think, on this one. That came on the Whirl Records label, which was a label founded by Edward Seaga, who was later Prime Minister of Jamaica. He was also involved in the musical business. And again, not quite sure exactly what pressing, but it's definitely got some age on here. Very good shape, though. Lots of classic songs here from the Tenors, Ride You Donkey, Massey Massa, David Isaacs doing Place in the Sun, kind of his signature song. You've got Lee Scratch Perry, one of his early solo hits. People Funny Boy, one of his most notorious early songs, and one of the first in a long series of grudgeful songs he recorded, where he would take shots at former employers and people that he thought had done him wrong. You've also got Clancy Eccles, The Gay Lads on here, and a couple of fairly obscure ones. Very nice compilation on there. There's Lee Perry right there, looking very serious. Now, one further one was there at that time, which kind of didn't fit with those previous two. It is Pincers, Bandolero. This is much later, about 1991. I knew the title track of this. It's one of the songs included on the Tougher Than Tough anthology, Bandolero by Pincers. It's on the Jammies label. Pincers was kind of a dance hall singer, sing-jay you might call him, putting his unique vocals to use over King Jammy's digital rhythms of the time. King Jammy has been the top producer from about 1985 on to the latter half of the 80s. Had started to lose way to a new generation of producers. Pincers helped put him back on the map at a time when he was other producers were starting to steal King Jammy's thunder. Some great digital rhythms on there, some originals and some remakes of earlier classic rhythms that they did in a digital fashion. So that was my first ever reggae thrift score. There was one other one that came probably a couple of years later, I'm thinking. That first one is at least a decade ago, if not more. So probably a couple of years later, I'm guessing, I came up in the same store again. When they had moved their records to the other part of the store, I found another haul of 4 reggae LPs in excellent shape. First one was Jimmy Riley, Put the People First. I've talked about Jimmy Riley. I actually did a video on him when he passed away in 2016. You can check back for that. That is a pressing on Shanachie, which is a Canadian pressing. 1982 on this one. Put the People First. That picture was later used for a compilation of his work. Another one there at the same time, another classic, Judy Mowatt, Black Woman. Judy Mowatt was 1/3 of the I3s, Bob Marley's trio of female backup singers, but she'd been a solo performer since the 60s on her own, and had a solo career concurrently with her work with the I3s. It's another one, Canadian pressing on the Generation label. This is probably, I believe it's her second solo LP, the one she's most well known for. Absolute classic, beautiful condition on this one. It's got her covers of some songs by Bob Marley, including Concrete Jungle, Down in the Valley, Put It On, of course, one of his most well-known songs, early songs. She also covers Freddie McGregor's Zion Chant. I believe her and Freddie were romantically involved at this time, as well as her own originals. This is her putting a female-focused, very soul-influenced spin on roots reggae of the time. Classic set from her. Another more obscure one that was there was Native, self-titled debut from them. This is 1979. This is a pressing on the Sonic Sounds label and distributed by Arista Records. Don't know if you can see that. 1979 Arista Records. I've also seen a pressing of this on Arista. Native was a group formed by Wayne Jobson with his brother Brian Jobson. The Jobsons were Jamaicans of UK extraction, kind of mixed ethnicity. They were from the parish of St. Anne's in rural Jamaica, not far from Bob Marley's birthplace. Many other notable Jamaicans from there. Burning Spear, Marcus Garvey, the great civil rights leader, reggae producer Jack Ruby. And Wayne Jobson's roots in Jamaican music ran deep. His cousin Dickie had co-founded Island Records with Chris Blackwell, who was a longtime friend. Another cousin was an attorney for Bob Marley at an early point in his career. So he had started his recording career forming his group called Native. They did some sessions for Lee Scratch Perry, kind of late in his Black Ark days. Lee Perry's mental state was deteriorating rapidly at that point, and they could not complete the sessions with him. So the full LP was completed with at various other studios. There was a great compilation of Native's work released on Pressure Sounds in 2007. Rockstone. Rockstone is a great roots reggae anthem included on here, as well as a couple other songs. You got Black Tracks, which was co-written with the female singer-songwriter Fabian Miranda, and later covered by a Canadian artist, Boule Noir. You've got songs like When the Master's Dead, King Solomon's Mines, taking a look at Jamaican history and slavery and all these various subjects. Interesting lyrics on here, kind of not typical of the roots reggae of the time. Wayne Jobson also had a strong rock influence. There's a lot of there's a progressive rock. There's a lot of rock guitar on this one. He did. I've got another LP by him that's very much more so in a hard rock style than roots reggae. This is probably the most heaviest reggae influenced LP he did. Excellent work here. Wayne Jobson later moved to California. He's been involved in radio industry there, roots reggae radio, for many years. He's been involved with Sirius XM. He produced the Peter Tosh documentary, Stepping Razor Red X, and worked with many other notables. Last thrift reggae vinyl find was another classic at the same time as those previous three. Capping it off was East of the River Nile, Augustus Pablo. Again, Canadian press on Shanachie. Classic instrumental set from him. Includes Chant to King Selassie, which was probably one of the first songs I ever heard by him. It's also got the Mighty Africa Must Be Free by 1983 rhythm on here. Augustus Pablo, this is an instrumental album. He's sometimes primarily known for his work with King Tubby on dub albums like Meets King Tubby and King Tubby Meets the Rockers Uptown. He was known for, his real name was Horace Swaby. He was known for playing the melodica, kind of a flute with keys, sometimes thought of as a child's instrument, but he turned it into a lead instrument in reggae and brought kind of a woozy, exotic sound that came to be known as the Far East sound, which is typified on this album. East of the River Nile, referring to Africa, referring to the biblical Middle East lands, and nearly all of his albums have a dedication to King Selassie, the Emperor of Ethiopia. Give thanks to King Selassie for his inspiration. Classic, essential set from him. So that was my best reggae, some of my best ever thrift vinyl finds, and the reggae edition. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope there's more at some point, but seems unlikely. So cheers, guys. Peace.